kind of interesting because I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. Durant and Irving are not no drama superstars. They're not.
They need
Kevin
a
Durant,
Popovich.
but
They'll
the
fall
thing
right in
is,
line. They will fall
oof,
right in line.
I can't see Popovich wanting to deal with the drama, and that's the thing to me that I
He
could
wouldn't have
see
to deal
being
with it.
I could see that being though the thing for Popovich is he's used to Tim Duncan being the lead guy, and then Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard, you are talking about the quietest two superstars probably in the history of the NBA. Not even in our lifetimes, but in the entire history. I mean, you're talking about those two guys and like Moses Malone, who was known for not saying more than one sentence, more than a few words in a sentence. So,
But Pop coaches Team USA. He's coached All-Star teams. He just needs to show up. Those guys will fall right in line. He's got look, Durant's got 2, Irving's got 1, Pop's got 5. Pop is about to end a 20-something year playoff streak. Okay? He will fall right in line. He'll be great for a guy like Karis LeVert. Joe Harris will be a perfect system fit when they bring him back. And it'll be good for a guy like DeAndre Jordan. He will have their respect. Regardless of who gets this job, then, it will be a coveted one because of the presence of Durant and Irving. Regardless of the drama, any coach would up and take that job because of the chance. Because I'm not saying they're going to be healthy next year. I pray to God they are. But if they are, they can play with anybody in the league. And you know that, and I know that. So let me ask you this. I'll turn the tables. Who do you see as a fit for this Nets team?
So I see it as more of a player coach. I could see so the names that like jump out is obviously Mark Jackson's gonna be in there. Um, I don't see. I think some people are gonna draw a line if the Rocket season goes poorly to D'Antoni. I don't really see that. I think Fizdale's kind of interesting. I wonder if the Nets would consider Fizdale. I really do. I think that's kind of like maybe a dark horse. The guy that I would go after if I was the Nets and who I think would be an absolutely wonderful fit and a guy who has shown that he can take ball dominant stars, have them play together and create an offense while also creating a solid defense with a traditional center, of which the Nets have 2, is Terry Stotts in Portland. The Portland Trailblazers this year are most likely going to finish outside of the playoff race or end up with the 8 seed. I think they're a team that might be looking for something to change, and I think what the Nets might be able to do is if they include some draft compensation, they might be able to swing something for Terry Stotts, who I think would be a phenomenal fit for this team. He's a guy who has shown that he can get along with a superstar in Dame Lillard. He has shown that he can mesh guys with similar skill sets in McCollum with Lillard. He's had a guy like Carmelo Anthony. I think that has shown that he can really manage personalities. Obviously, there's a lot of personalities in Portland. This is not a team of all just kind of choir boy, keep to themselves types. I mean, these guys have things going on. And I think Stotts could be a good fit with the way that he runs his offense and the way that he's done his defense in Portland, his ability to craft it to his personnel. I think that could be a really, really nice fit for this Nets team and this roster. And this will be by far the most talent he's ever had on his team. So I think he's the type of guy who has shown he can get places in the playoffs, getting to a Western Conference Finals with that team last year, regardless of the matchups, incredibly impressive. And I think this could be his chance to take the next step with this Nets team and maybe get this team to the finals, maybe even win a title with this team.
I don't hate it. I don't. It's not a sexy pick. I mean, neither of them are. I haven't heard either of their names floated around. I'm sticking to my guns. I think it's just the way that this went down. Popovich was in town. The news breaks 11 hours later. So it'd be great if it happens. We'll have to wait and see till after the season. But one more thought on Atkinson, because he is the perfect coach for a rebuilding situation. So the 2 obvious fits for Atkinson would be the Knicks, stays in New York. He's a New York guy. He was an assistant there. Or your Chicago Bulls, because for as long as this podcast has been going on, you've been calling for Boylen to get fired. So would you take Kenny in the Windy City?
I think Kenny would be the absolute perfect fit for the Bulls. And the other thing is, I think he's the type of guy that Bulls fans would like. He's a fiery guy. He's kind of this blue-collar guy. He likes to build the culture. I think he'd be great for them. I think that he's shown that he is great with point guards. If you actually look, so everyone's going to forget this, of course. But if you actually look at the numbers, Kyrie Irving was having perhaps his best season statistically on a per game basis when he was healthy this season. He was putting up monster numbers in the system that Atkinson had put him in. So the truth is, he has shown with what he did with D'Angelo Russell, what he's done with Spencer Dinwiddie, and what he's done with Kyrie Irving, that he can handle a lead guard running the offense, and he can craft a system to play to their strengths. What do the Bulls have? Well, they have Kobe White, young guard who they need to develop, and they have Zach LaVine. I mean, if there's a coach that's more tailor-made for a young team that needs to develop their guards, I don't know who it is. So I think Kenny Atkinson would be a great fit, and I think Chicagoans and Bulls fans would absolutely love him. And it could, the only part of this that's kind of sad for me is I think this could end up letting them keep Paxson and Gar Forman because he's exactly the type of coach that those guys typically like to bring in. So we'll see. I hope so. He would be number one on my list by a lot. I
He'll
think
get
he's
another
the best
job.
guy. Yeah.
So just to put a bow on this, it was an unfair shake for what seems like a great guy. For the Brooklyn Nets long term, this was the necessary move. And I guess this is more me talking myself into it, but at least it's now and not May. And at least now, like, you have coaches taking a look at the Nets for the rest of the season, the first round of the playoffs, and, you know, Pop will be watching, all these candidates will be watching, and they'll see, like, how they can improve this team. So moving ahead then to teams that are actually in contention this year, I mean, what can you say about the Los Angeles Lakers and the week they've had? You know, neither of us thought they'd be this good. You know, dominant wins over the Bucks and the Clippers. So the question I'll pose to you, Mr. 76er enthusiast, are they the new title favorites?
I mean, this is the crazy thing about this season is that the Lakers have been this good without a real third guy. I mean, their third best player is Danny Green. I mean, when you take the full impact, I guess you would have to say it's Danny Green. But I mean, jeez, I mean, there's just no one really there outside of the two stars that can really contribute. And I think it's amazing that they've gotten this far. To me though, the question of if they can be title favorites is, can they get enough out of those guys come playoff time? I mean, if one of those two struggles in a playoff game, Jason, do they have enough offensive firepower to win basketball games?
Because of Frank Vogel's system, I think so. You know, he's rejuvenated Dwight Howard. You know, you have guys that were supposed to be mainstays in the rotation, not even playing, and that's Jared Dudley and Quinn Cook. They just signed Dion Waiters, so Waiters is going to be a factor off the bench. Danny Green looks like he's worth every bit of the contract they gave him. I think it's $18 million a year or something like that. You know, Rondo is in his role, and he's good doing it. He's distributing the ball. You have JaVale McGee, who's just that all-around rim dunker, shot blocker. You have Avery Bradley and KCP, who are defensive stalwarts. And LeBron facilitating, that's the championship formula. Those are the perfect complement of pieces to surround LeBron. And then the LeBron-AD pairing, they've stayed relatively healthy, but that's worked out way better than we've expected as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because I think it's one of the harder seasons to say who the favorite is. I think I'm gonna stick with the Clippers, and the reason I'm gonna stay with the Clippers is that I think they're matchup proof. And the reason I say that is that I just think that Doc Rivers and this team, they can play so many different ways that it's going to be hard for them to find an opponent in the playoffs who will force them out of their comfort zone. If you look at the Lakers, I think the problem that you can see with this team a little bit is they really want to play two traditional big men. They really want to play Davis next to a five. They want to play JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard out there. And those guys have been really good for them. And I think that that's really going to be a potential danger for them when it comes playoff time, because can they get enough out of those guards? So Kuzma can play, Green can play, but who's that other guy? And it's been Caruso, at points it's been Rondo, but I mean, who do you think that guy is? And is that something that could bite them come playoff time if they can't get that other guard to step up.
I don't think so, because this is around the time of year that LeBron locks in, right? He plays great, and then the All-Star break comes, and he just goes right into playoff mode. So they really don't need another guard. LeBron could play all 5 positions if need be. So I think that they're fine the way they're currently constructed. And we were wrong. I mean, we thought, they got a lot of B and C level free agents. They were waiting for Kawhi Leonard. The Davis trade was announced. They gutted their roster. I mean, these guys are all buying into LeBron's championship mentality. Like, this is the most winning Anthony Davis has had since college. So everything is clicking. You have a coaching staff full of former head coaches, Jay Kidd, Lionel Hollins, Phil Handy, who we spoke about, is a well-respected coach, a player's guy. And Frank Vogel had success in Indiana, and LeBron saw that. I know his choice was Ty Lue, but LeBron played against those Pacers teams. So now this is all coming together, and it's just it should not change right now. If they stay on this course, they will be NBA champions.
You're right. I mean, they're right there. It's hard to pick. I'll make my case for the Clippers, though. So my case for the Clippers is that when you look at this roster, top to bottom, they have almost the same amount of talent as the Lakers do at the top with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And I think we have to see, to some degree, what happens with Paul George. He has missed a lot of the season, and it's not shocking that he's not 100% yet. If he is 100% come playoff time, that's a different team. And it's been a bit strange, admittedly, because when you look at the numbers, it actually seems in some respects like he's kind of gone backwards, but it's also because of kind of his role on this team, and he's kind of settling in. I'm interested to see. I think if those guys are healthy, the Clippers should be the favorites because behind those guys, they just have so much talent, and they have talent across positions where they can play a guy like Marcus Morris in there. They can play Montrezl Harrell. They can play Lou Williams. They can go small. If they play a team like Houston, who has kind of a weird playing style, they can go small. And as we kind of saw, they can just destroy them because Kawhi Leonard and Paul George can just eat those guys up on Houston. When you look at a team like the Lakers, my concern is going to be that if they play certain teams in the conference, a team like Houston kind of jumps out to me. But I can just sort of see matchups being a bit of an issue. Now, one thing that's going to really help them is getting the 1 seed. And it looks like they're going to do that. I mean, how valuable do you think it is for them to likely get, a team like the Grizzlies, the Kings, or the Pelicans in the first round versus having to play a Mavericks team, a Thunder team, teams that could win 2 games in a series?
Well, the 1 seed's huge. The only caveat is if they go to the conference finals, it will most likely be against the Clippers. I don't buy the Rockets long term. Look, it's cute now. Russell Westbrook's taking advantage of the small and big matchups, but I'm telling you right now, come playoff time, it will crash and burn, and D'Antoni will be on the unemployment line next to Kenny Atkinson looking for another job. The only way I'll say home court would mean nothing is if it's Lakers-Clippers in a 7-game series at Staples Center. Granted, the colors of the court will change, and you'll get a lot of Lakers fans in the home games. But guess what? The Clippers are tired of being the little brother in L.A., and their fans will show out at these games, especially since they have a championship-ready roster. So the only team that I think could stop the Lakers in the West are the Clippers. They looked good in the early matchups. This was the first game in the season series that the Lakers actually won. But right now, the Lakers are peaking, and I would favor them over the Clippers. But that could change in the next 2 months.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
it's
doing
going to
a nice
be
little dance there on your couch.
Yeah, doing some dancing. We don't have as much Simba this show, which Flo's going to be really disappointed in the lack of Simba. I believe Simba's taking a little
She's
nap.
zonked right now, yeah.
But I think the one team we have to mention in this conversation that we haven't even talked about yet is a team that up until Giannis' injury was on a historic pace, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks, who are now losers of 3 in a row. You can almost say goodbye to the 70-win conversation. They would have to go 17-0 down the stretch. That is unlikely. So likely 70 wins is gone. And now, Jason, both of us are already pouring some dirt on them as a title favorite. I mean, do the Bucks deserve better, or